What's going on, Breeze? It's John Donovan and Jimmy Parker here for episode 2 of the podcast. We're gonna be taking you through our 10-man half-point PPR league. It's kind of a big deal with our friends, and they were kind of bugging us to do ratings on their teams and whatnot. So I figured we'd take it through. We're gonna have a rating system out of 5. So anything above a 4 is going to be a championship caliber team. So it's going to be like your top 3 seeds in a 10-man league. Anything above a 3 is going to be a playoff bound. So your 6, 5, 4 seeds are probably going to be in the 3 range. Above 2 is this team's probably just going to miss the playoffs. We don't think it's going to make the playoffs. And anything below 2 is what were you thinking?
Bottom of the barrel.
This is a pretty bad team. All right, so we're going to get right into it. We're actually going to start with the team who had the first pick, and this is our friend Reed. We're going to show you right here. He actually had one of the best draft grades on draft day, but unfortunately, and this is something that we need to clarify, he picked Travis Etienne in the 6th round. We were actually drafting during that game when he got injured. So very unfortunate break for Reed, but he still has a pretty solid team all around. He's got Patrick Mahomes, quarterback 1 right there easily. DK Metcalf, a great wide receiver 1. Cooper Kupp, I think he's going to be a solid. I think Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are solid wide receiver 2s. There are definitely a few teams where if he's a wide receiver 1, it's still not a bad team. DJ Chark, wide receiver 3 flex, not a bad spot for him. McCaffrey's already 1. This is where he got into trouble. Like we said, he's got you can see at the bottom, he's got Etienne on the IR spot, but that's going to be useless. He's going to drop him. Josh Jacobs is a questionable running back 2, and I know, Jimmy, that's someone who you're not huge on. He retook Josh Jacobs with the 40th pick in the draft because running backs kind of flew off the board early.
Yeah, that was a tricky spot for all of us. There were so many running backs that just went so early in this draft. For me, I mean, I'm not really somebody who likes to take a quarterback super early. So when he took Mahomes in the 3rd round at the turn there with DK, another player that I'm not super high on this year. So like me personally, I thought he could have done a little bit better at that 2nd, 3rd round turn.
There were still guys like Chris. There's still guys like Chris Carson, Joe Mixon out there. Guys who have that value there for sure. But he decides to go wide receiver quarterback, and he'll have an edge at quarterback, but having an edge at quarterback.
It's something you get later in the rounds, in my opinion. I feel like 2nd, 3rd round are very early for a quarterback.
Yeah, and he also has Jamar Chase. Now, Jamar Chase is, reunited with Joe Burrow. Great pick. Didn't really perform well in camp. So
yeah, I'm a little nervous about Jamar Chase coming into the season. I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, he's a rookie. Yeah. He hasn't played football in 18 months. We kind of figured there'd be some rust, but I think it's a little bit more than we were anticipating. So, we'll see how that fares out. But he is on the bench. So the only thing I also don't like is DJ Chark as his wide receiver 3. I mean, I know this is a 3 wide receiver league, so it's a little bit out of the ordinary for most leagues. Not a fan of DJ Chark at all this season. I think he's going to be like that wide receiver 3 in Jacksonville behind Marvin Jones, behind LaVisca. So he's probably got some weekly touchdown upside, but
yes,
I would rather start somebody else there.
All right, let's move on to the next team. The next team we got here is Taco Dell, and this is our friend Nick.
Oh wait, we got to give a rating for
Reed. That's right. Well, I was going to give Reed's team a 2.5. He's going to be kind of just out of that playoff mix. Definitely has a chance to make it. 2.5 is my rating.
Yeah, I might give it like a 2 flat.
2 flat. Okay.
I know McCaffrey's probably going to be his best bet to like drag him into the playoffs.
Yes,
but I think at best, no offense to Reed here, I would say like at best he probably slips into the 6th seed if he gets a couple of lucky breaks with Jamar Chase maybe, or Cortland Sutton or somebody like that, or Rondale Moore if he breaks out, Elijah Moore.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So if his late round picks hit, I think he could squeak into the playoffs.
All right, so this is our friend Nick. This is not Nick from Breeze. This is another friend named Nick.
The commish.
Yeah, he's the commish. So this is Taco Dell. He went with Aaron Jones in the 6th spot. Not a bad pick. He was between a lot of guys at that 6th spot for sure.
Yeah, we kind of knew how the first 5 were going to go.
Yeah, first 5 were
he was the wild card.
He was the wild card. He went Aaron Jones. Great pick. This is one of the better picks in the draft. He got Logan Thomas in the 11th round, the 106th pick of the draft. That's a great value for Logan Thomas. Like, that's amazing value for Logan Thomas. He took Jonathan Taylor on the way back. I think his Jonathan Taylor and Aaron Jones are pretty good punch. And he got Chris Carson in the 3rd round. This is one of the people who went running back. And you saw that a lot in this league. Most what was it? 15 running backs were gone after the first 2 rounds. 15 of the first 20 picks were running backs. So
yeah, Nick's a guy who always likes to go running back heavy early. So it wasn't really surprised that he decided to go running back.
No.
So, and I think he got some pretty decent value. I think Aaron Jones could pick at 6. Really, a lot of guys you could choose from there. Aaron Jones, not a bad one right there. No. Jonathan Taylor is a guy that I'm a little iffy on, but considering you got him in the second round,
I think that's fair value. Yeah.
And Chris Carson, another guy, I think he's pretty underrated.
I think he's
third round. I think that was good.
Yeah,
good
I think I'm going to regret
for him.
I think I'm going to regret taking Joe Mixon over Chris Carson this year, but you only wait.
Only time will tell.
Yeah, exactly. So he actually took, for no reason, this is just weird on his team, but he took Robert Woods before Tyler Lockett. And I just said Tyler Lockett on a team like this to be wide receiver 1 is you're definitely giving up a few points, but Robert Woods is not that far out of the wide receiver 1 conversation by any means. Yeah, and he's going to be consistent. He's going to be consistent.
I think having Tyler Lockett, yeah, because he's a guy who can really pop off any week. Robert Woods on the other side is somebody who's very consistent. He'll give you 10 points pretty much every week.
That was a good pair.
So I think that's a good balance.
He's got Kyler Murray. He's got a great quarterback. He's got a average to above average tight ends. He's got 3 great running backs. This is a very solid team. Nick is no slouch. He tends to always make the playoffs, and I think he will too.
Yeah, Mike Thomas on the bench too is dangerous. Second half of the year, he does recover, and the drama with the Saints is done by then.
Yes,
it can be dangerous.
And who knows? Maybe Justice Hill takes the reins on the Ravens, or at least in the pass catching. I think he'll have a big role. Not that Ravens are big pass catching running backs, but I think Justice Hill will be annoying for Gus Edwards a lot this year. So we'll see how that plays out. This is an overall solid team. He also went to 2 defense strat. I guess you just like those 2 teams matches for the first couple of weeks.
Interesting, but
yeah,
you never know.
I'm sure he had a little plan devised. I'm sure that was a pre-draft plan. But I'm going to go ahead and give this a solid 3.6. I think it's a team that, with Michael Thomas back, can make a solid playoff push. I don't know if it has the pieces to be a championship team with a running back too, like Jonathan Taylor's a little iffy, and Chris Carson, who might be a little bit injury prone over the last few years, although he looked really good in off-season workouts. I saw the guy doing like some bench press that was just absurd the other day. So we'll see about that. But I give it a solid 3.6. I think it's a team that can make a good playoff push and can definitely sneak into the championship. But I think it's just missing a few pieces.
Yeah, I'd put it in the high 3s, probably like a 3.8, something like that. This is a kid, he always makes the playoffs. He always finds a way. I think if Michael Thomas can come back and get past his obstacles, he's got a couple of things he has to work through. This could be a dangerous team that could probably make a deep run.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the next team. The next team is we got Coop's Troops, and he hasn't set his team yet. So his team is all down here.
Come on, Coop.
Not really sure why, but we're gonna go over Coop's team. So Coop had the 9th pick, and he went, which was the only person to take a running back in the first 2 rounds. He went Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce off the bat.
Very nice.
And we did the draft in person, and now you can see him kind of getting all antsy in the 3rd round when he's like, "Whoa, who my running back's gonna be now?" Like he was at a big hole running back, and unfortunately, he took J.K. Dobbins. This draft happened about a week and a half ago, actually. Took J.K. Dobbins.
So it was pretty far before the injury happened. So
yeah, he took J.K. Dobbins as his running back 1. That hurt. His running back 1 is now Mike Davis. Not a running back 1 in my eyes. Maybe in a 20-man league. Yeah, maybe in a 20-man league. I don't know. But even still,
I'd prefer him as my flex. Definitely not my RB.
Yeah, even in an RB2, he could definitely provide that running back 2 value for sure. Will he? That's the question. He's got Mike Davis and Ronald Jones as his running back 1, running back 2 combo. I guess if Edmonds get hurt, Connor could be good. Needs a lot of injuries to happen in Indianapolis for Nyheim Hines to be that fantasy relevant, and needs Jacobs to get hurt for Drake to be the good. But he is such an advantage at tight end and wide receiver.
And even wide receiver, yeah.
I mean, look, he's got Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, who that was one of my favorite picks of drafting, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen, everybody was kind of upset that Adam Thielen went because I think he's still Adam Thielen. Like I understand Josh Jefferson is there now, but still Adam Thielen.
I wasn't too high on Thielen. I wasn't too high on Thielen until the Irv Smith injury. Our boy went down with the torn meniscus out for the year. He's going to see a lot more of those red zone targets that we didn't think he was going to see. So I think he's kind of back into that mid wide receiver 2 conversation. And considering he's got him, Adams, and Lamb, with Lamb probably going to make a pretty big jump this year.
Yeah.
Put Kelsey on that team.
I think his receivers carry him into that
That's
playoffs.
Dangerous. So,
but I think the lack of running backs definitely hurts him from making that championship push. I'm going to give him a solid 3.2. I think he's right on the cut of the playoffs. He'll be that 4 or 5 seed. He'll definitely be able to beat teams, but the only problem is his running backs are definitely against a team like we saw, Nick, who has Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor. His running backs are going to see serious problems in the playoffs. I think it's a team that can make it. Will it go that far? I don't think so.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was thinking 3-2. I think he's really going to rely on some big weeks from his receivers. And I mean, Travis Kelce is probably the most consistent player in fantasy football. So I'm not too worried, obviously, about his tight end, but he's really going to rely on some boom or bust weeks. And you really can't rely on that to win a championship. You can get to the playoffs, but winning a championship is a lot more tough.
His running backs going to be very heavily touchdown dependent. Like Ronald Jones is going to need a touchdown a week, probably be fantasy relevant.
Yeah, and he's pretty much in a committee with Fournette and now Gio Bernard, who looks like he's going to have the pass catching.
He's going to have the pass catching. Yeah, so we'll see about that. All right, on to the next. This is actually one of the greatest teams in the draft in my eyes, but
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why too. So this is my team. I'll give you I was one of the guys who went running back also. That was kind of my strategy going into the draft. I got Saquon Barkley at the 16th pick. Let's talk about that.
He slept a little bit further than I thought he would. And I'm not even somebody who would have taken him.
I was definitely expecting to go. I wouldn't have been surprised late first round, or I thought early second round. I thought Nick F was going to take him at that 10 spot. That's Nick from Breeze, by the way. That's Nick F. We thought he was going to take at that 10 spot for sure if he was there. And the team we just saw Cooper. We thought Cooper was going to take Barkley at 9, and definitely thought he was gone at 12, but he wasn't. So, and I saw Barkley, and I'm like, that's a tough guy to pass up on in the middle of the second round.
Yeah.
And, right now, he seems to be healthy. Trending in the right direction. I'm happy with that pick in the second round. Then I got into trouble in my third round. I was between Joe Mixon and Chris Carson. Chris Carson went right after me with the other Nick. I think those two are pretty much a toss-up this year. Who doesn't get injured? Whose offense is better? I was okay with Joe Mixon. My receivers do have I don't have a true wide receiver 1. I think Amari Cooper is that high wide receiver 2, maybe not a true wide receiver 1. Deontay Johnson, I think he's another really good wide receiver 2. Robbie Anderson, a lot of people.
He slipped, didn't he?
Yeah,
right? He went pretty late.
I got him at pick 76 in the 8th round. Love that. I love that. I was extremely happy. He's reunited with Sam Darnold. I don't think Sam Darnold was necessarily the problem in New York. I think New York was the problem in New York.
I think that's fair.
With the Jets. So hopefully that connection will be there this year. And even if not, I was somebody who I know my 3 running backs. I know Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, and Saquon Barkley are my 3 guys. Took Michael Carter's potential boom candidate on my bench, and I have Tony Pollard because the person didn't handcuff him for whatever reason. So I'm not really worried about my running back. So when I went on my bench, I kind of went big, and you see Irv Smith. That one hurt bad. I went kind of heavy receivers and guys that I kind of think could break out this year. I got Noah Fant in the 11th round.
Yes. Yeah, there was a big break in tight ends.
Yes. Right after Hockenson went in like the 7th round. Yeah. And then after that, there wasn't a tight end taken until like the 9th or 10th round. I got Noah Fant in the 11th, which is absurd value. And I got Irv in the 12th. I was hoping to pair the two of them together. Noah Fant might have been a little more consistent, but Irv Smith, I was kind of hoping would take that big step this year and be a, very fantasy relevant tight end, as we all were at Breeze. I got Jaylen Waddle, who I think could be an absolute beast for Miami. Will Fuller is going to serve his 1 game suspension to be back. I think Will Fuller is going to be somebody who plays in my flex on bye weeks and is the wide receiver 3 on most bye weeks. But let's talk about Tyler Boyd. And this is something I'm actually curious on your thoughts of Tyler Boyd with the whole Jamar Chase situation and everything like that. What are your thoughts on Tyler Boyd? I got him in the 10th round.
I think that's really good value for Tyler Boyd. He's a guy in the last 2 years or so, especially with Joe Burrow, he was putting up some pretty solid numbers. I don't have the stats on hand right now, but I know he was putting up I had him in a couple of leagues, putting up some really solid numbers. Him and T. Higgins are guys that I would take definitely over Jamar Chase at this stage right now. They're both very reliable. This is a passing attack that was pretty high volume last year, if I'm not mistaken. They both got their chances. So I think getting them after Jamar Chase, I think T. Higgins is probably going ahead of Jamar Chase, but Tyler Boyd I've seen going after Chase. I would definitely take both of them ahead of Chase. And
yeah,
I think you got good value on Boyd there.
Yeah, I think I got great value. All right, I'm going to give my team, I think there are a few teams that can compete with me for sure. I think I'm right on that. I might be a one trade or one waiver wire player away from being a championship team. I think a fair rating for my team is that 3.8, 3.9 spot. Maybe if I pick up a good receiver or Tyler Boyd or Will Fuller breaks out, I think it'd definitely be a championship team. I'm going to give myself that 3.8 or 3.9 right in there.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably just a little bit under that, maybe a 3.6, 3.7. Like I said, I think you're probably one move away. Yeah, honestly, your running backs are very strong. I think taking Derrick Henry alone or Saquon Barkley alone or Joe Mixon alone would be a little bit risky, but I think the fact that you have all three of them together makes a very solid core. At running back, I love your receivers. I love Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, Robbie Anderson. I think that was great. Dak Prescott's a guy that I've been high on all offseason. My only concern is tight end. I'm not really big on Noah Fant. There's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense. I think Teddy Bridgewater kind of caps the upside of Noah Fant a little bit. And your bench, I've been lower on Michael Carter in the last couple of weeks just because it seems like he's been operating as the third back.
And I probably wouldn't have taken where I took him, had we done this draft today.
Yeah. But you know what? I love the Bryan Edwards pick. That's a player that I'm really high on this year.
I didn't even draft him, actually. I don't know if you knew that. I think I dropped.
Yeah, because I think somebody else, I think Vin had drafted him. We'll get to Vin's
and then dropped him, and then I picked up Bryan Edwards. But with the John Brown release, I'm like, I got to snag him like that, There was that was pretty much a no doubter in my eyes that I was going to pick him up. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say definitely a playoff team, probably a mid seed with the potential to be a top 3 team. So 3.6, 3.7, something in that range.
All right, so let's move on. Are we going to go to Quinn's team now? Quinn had a solid draft. Quinn's a big AJ Brown guy and Ryan Tannehill. That's a great combo right there and receiver. And, took Calvin Ridley in the second round. He had the third pick. He took Kamara at 3. Great pick. I think Winston, it's such a tough to guess what Kamara's going to be. He's going to be RB1. Where he falls in that top 5 is the real question for me. I love George Kittle this year. I think he got him in the fourth round. That's a pretty good pick. At the 38th pick, like we said, tight end stuff pretty big in this league. That's a pretty good spot for him. He's got a solid bench. He's going to be. I think he's one of those teams that stays right on that playoff cut. I think the Damian Harris Kareem Hunt is the RB2 is not ideal. Someone who I love though on his bench is Zach Moss. I've heard a lot of great things about Zach Moss in the last few weeks. I don't know if you have too, but
I have, yeah. That's a guy I've been trying to take in the later rounds, especially if I go receivers in the mid rounds. Yeah, I'm kind of lacking that bench RB. Zach Moss is a guy that I've been pulling the trigger on a lot. Taking him pretty late. I don't know exactly the round that Quinn got him here.
I got him in the 9th round with the 83rd pick.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Usually the 8th, 9th, 10th rounds.
Yep.
Very solid RB to target. A lot of touchdown upside. I know Josh Allen's going to vulture some of those, so you're not really starting him week to week, most likely. So as a bench RB, definitely some good value there. And you mentioned the Kareem Hunt, Damian Harris. I actually really like Damian Harris at the flex spot. I could even see him as an RB2. Not a big fan of Kareem Hunt. I think his upside is very much capped with Nick Chubb there. Just the fact that you're pretty much starting a backup running back is not ideal, but he does have some PPR upside. And especially if Nick Chubb does go down, that's obviously probably a league-winning pick. But you're kind of banking on that. And then Kenny Gallaudet, I'm not big on him either. He was out all year last year, and this year he's already dealing with hamstring problems. And it looks like we're not really sure if he's going to be ready for week 1. Daniel Jones is going to be a weak offense probably, and I'm saying that as a Giants fan. I'm not really too high on this offense, so. But I think the Ridley Kamara combo is deadly. That's a very deadly combo. I think if you can get and with George Kittle there, I think if you can get obviously Ryan Tannehill's out with COVID right now. Hopefully he comes back because I know how much he loves Ryan Tannehill. Yeah. So I think if you can get the quarterbacks figured out, maybe make a move or two to try to solidify his receivers and running backs, you could definitely make the playoffs. Right now I'd have him more as a cusp team though. I don't necessarily
think I have him a cusp team as well.
Yeah, I think he's got some big
I don't think he
names.
has the weapons to make that push. I think he's a 3-1. I think 3.1 is pretty fair for him. I guess it just depends on your matchups too. Like, let's be real. If he gets a few fair matchups or a few good matchups, he could definitely be in the playoffs. But I don't think he's anyone who's going to be. I don't think he's a championship bound team right now. I think he's a very good RB2 away. And maybe an upgrade that wide receiver 3 away from being a very, very good competitor. If he upgrades at RB2 and that wide receiver 3, he's a dangerous team.
Yeah, I would probably put him at like a 2.7. I would see him outside the playoffs, probably in that 8 seed-ish spot. If he can make a couple smart moves or maybe get a couple of guys like, Cole Beasley's having a season like he did last year.
Yeah.
You can slot him in week to week as the wide receiver 3. I think that helps a lot to have that safe floor. And then, hopefully Ryan Tannehill, he's not out for week 1 because that would be, a rough week 1 spot because we don't know how Carson Wentz is going to play first game ever in Indy. So, we'll see what happens there. Hopefully he doesn't have to sacrifice week 1 with that. But, I would have him probably just outside the playoffs, but a couple moves away from sneaking in. And, you could definitely go off at any week with that Kamara Ridley combo.
Yeah,
AJ
for sure.
Brown too and George Kittle. Yeah. If he has a big week, he's not going to lose to too many teams.
No. All right, let's move on. This is Nick's team. He wasn't superbly happy with his team. Wound up getting the best draft grade on Yahoo.
I thought he had a pretty good draft. I know he wasn't too happy about it.
The other thing is he now has Gus Edwards.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up right now for everybody here. Took Gus Edwards in the 9th round.
Mm-hmm. Now that, of course, that's a steal looking back with the J.K. Dobbins injury. At the time, it was honestly still a pretty solid pick as a bench running back. But
and he has DeAndre Swift on the bench. DeAndre Swift was definitely going to take Darrell Henderson's spot. He went Tyreek Hill and Gibson first 2 picks. He was at 10th spot, so he's at the turn. He went those 2 off the bat. Pretty good rip. I think that's a pretty good rip off the turn there. Tyreek Hill. I thought Tyreek Hill may have gone 8th or 9th in our league based on who was drafting there. But Adams actually slipped to 9, so Hill was definitely going to be available 10. Hill and Gibson, maybe he went Gibson a little too early. I don't think so personally. I think Gibson is slated to have a great year. I know you got Jonathan Taylor was still available. And who was your running back too that you wound up taking?
Najee Harris.
Najee Harris was still there. There's still a few guys. But Saquon Barkley was there too. That shows you that Nick was kind of locked in.
Right. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that would probably be a little early. But still some solid RB2s.
Yeah, who do you call Saquon Barkley was there? Nick was definitely high on Antonio Gibson. If you didn't even, and I don't even think he sniffed at Saquon Barkley. I think he just knew he was taking Gibson. And it was who he wanted the other pick, and he took Hill. Allen Robinson, you got Allen Robinson, I believe, at the turn again in the 4th.
Yeah, I love that as well.
You got Allen Robinson and DeAndre Swift on the turn back. That's a pretty good turn right there. Now you have 2. Allen Robinson's a borderline wide receiver 1, high wide receiver 2, if you don't consider him wide receiver 1 for sure. And DeAndre Swift, I think DeAndre Swift is going to be a very, very good running back too this year. I think if he's a guy that you can secure as a running back too, that's not a bad pick at all.
Agreed. I think, he got T.J. Hawkinson at great value.
You got T.J. Hawkinson in the 7th round.
I thought that was a really good pick. It made me kind of regret my pick, and you'll see who I took at tight end a little bit earlier in the draft because I didn't realize that he would fall to where he fell. I would have loved to have taken him and maybe cash in on another running back or something early with all the running backs that were being taken. So I think that was a really smart pick for him. And I like his bench a lot. I like Jerry Jeudy. I like Jacoby Myers a lot.
Yeah.
I know he picked up Dallas Goedert. I'm not a big fan of him, but as a bench tight end, that's not.
No, that's totally fine. Bench tight end.
Picked up Sony Michel too. We don't really know what he's going to be in that, but he already has Darrell Henderson. So if one goes down, he'll have a solid RB in the other one. I would say that I love his receivers too. Tyreek Hill.
DJ Moore is a wide receiver 3.
That could be one of the best wide receiver cores. I think it's up there with Coops in terms of his wide receivers. So I'm a big fan of those. And then he took our guy Jalen Hurts, who I know he's high.
Yep. Jalen Hurts for sure. He's going to make a playoff push. There's no doubt about it. Where he falls in that playoff push, it all depends on Gus Edwards and DeAndre Swift. Gibson's probably going to get outplayed by guys who have like McCaffrey, Kamara, and Cook. It's whether or not those other running backs can pick up the load, and Allen Robinson and DJ Moore can outperform their projections for sure. I think he's a solid 3.7. I think he's right in the mix for contending for a playoff spot. I think if he packages the right guys to get another superstar, he's in a great spot. He definitely has that depth on his bench to do that for a team that needs a little more depth for sure. So I'm curious as to the moves he's going to make, but for right now, I say he's a 3.7.
I'm going to go up a little bit. I'm going to say he's a 4 flat. I think he's got top 3, probably, I wouldn't say on lock, but I think if Jalen Hurts can turn into what we think he's going to turn into, he's got a top 3 spot probably in the bag. And I love the fact that he paired him with Matthew Stafford. That's something I've been doing in a lot of mock drafts. It's either pairing him with Stafford.
He got Matt Stafford in the last round, I believe.
Yeah, he slipped pretty far. So
I
thought that was a really smart
thing. 11th round, whatever.
Yeah, a really smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think, if all things work out, my really only concern is his running backs. But I like the fact that he has DeAndre Swift that he can throw in there if one of his running backs doesn't pan out, because I think he's going to get enough of a workload to be a solid RB2. So I put him at a 4. I think he's got a solid chance to make a championship run.
All right, let's move on to the next team. This is Vince's team. He definitely had a few guys slip to him for sure.
He was very proud of that Russell Wilson pick.
Yeah, he was very happy with that Russell Wilson pick. And he got James Robinson in the 8th round, who's probably a 3rd round pick now, which makes his team very difficult. I mean, you look at his team; he's got one of the best teams in the league for sure.
He got
Russ in
with some of those picks. Yeah.
He got Russ in the 9th round, 84th pick. That's a great spot for Russ. James Robinson in the 8th round, good pick. The only thing I didn't understand is the Chase Edmonds in the Chase Edmonds is 6th. That's not terrible. Maybe a round earlier than I would have taken him personally.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially that he already had Zeke and Hilaire.
I think the James Robinson thing kind of bailed him out with that.
So
start him with the flex.
For sure.
So it all ends up working out.
He has 2 guys that I love on the bench receivers, Michael Pittman and Darnell Mooney. Very high on them. Big bust guys for sure. High upside, high ceiling for sure. He got DeAndre Hopkins at the 3rd round, 24th pick. Pretty good value. Godwin was his 4th round pick. He was another one who took tight end probably too early. I think if he doesn't take Pitts probably falls took Pitts in the 5th round. Pitts falls to the 6th, 7th, 8th round even, just with how the draft was going that night. The only question I have for his team is why Alexander Madison and why not Tony Pollard? I'm not really sure. But overall, this is a solid team. I give it a 4.1. Maybe in a 4 point, you could argue 4.2, 4.3, just because that James Robinson in the 8th round. I mean, that's going to carry his team. DeAndre Hopkins in the 3rd round as a wide receiver 1. That's a great pick. Already having Zeke and Hilaire, Russell Wilson in the 8th. I mean, I felt like for whatever reason, everything that could have gone right for him almost went right for him. And that's why I think he's one of those championship bound teams this year.
Yeah, I think if you had asked me right after the draft what his rating would be, I would have said somewhere in the mid 3s. Now I'm probably going to push that to at least a 4, maybe a 4.1. I think I like the fact that he has Hopkins, Godwin, Smith, and then his bench RB receivers are Mooney and Pittman. Because even if Godwin, doesn't really live up to expectations with all the mouths to feed in Tampa, or if Devonta Smith and Jalen Hurts don't really have that connection that we want them to, he's still got Darnell Mooney and Michael Pittman, who are both
you
of
definitely plug him in.
Definitely
be plugged in, especially with T.Y. Hilton out the first few weeks.
Plug him in as solid wide receiver twos.
Yeah.
So obviously, and then I love the Trey Sermon pick. I know he went a little bit earlier because there was kind of a run of RBs in like the 5th, 6th round turn that I think went a little bit earlier than we expected.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
He was able to capitalize though and grab Trey Sermon. So I think that was a really smart pick there for him.
Yeah, me too. I like that pick too. But with the whole James Robinson, will he even need Sermon? That's
so
the question.
Even then, he could deal him out and
that's what I was going to say. Probably, but definitely when he's high value. All right, let's move on.
Definitely a top 3 seed for him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, this is your team here, Jimmy. So definitely a good draft. Love the Eckler Harris combination here. You got McLaurin then in the 3rd, and then you got McLaurin in the 4th. You went with Waller in the 3rd, and you weren't expecting the tight end pace, I guess, of being drafted to be what it was. Probably wouldn't have taken him there. Darren Waller, and now that John Brown's gone, probably just increasing just the slightest more bit.
I don't mind having Darren Waller on my team. He's probably the number 2 tight end. He's basically kind of like having a wide receiver 1 on your team that you can get in the 3rd round. So again, I'm not mad at that pick, but if I had known ahead of time that, TJ Hockenson would slip so far, I might have, passed on him and just seen what would have happened. But I think I'm pretty satisfied with my team. I feel like in the late rounds, I definitely went receiver heavy. And that was something that I'd kind of planned on doing because I took those RBs heavy. Took the RBs early. I went Eckler Harris, which was something that I was kind of planning on doing if Harris had slipped to me. And then my receivers, I didn't really get a top tier wide receiver 1, but I love Terry
McLaurin's that borderline low wide receiver 1.
I think he's got a really good shot to finish.
He's got a shot to finish top 10 for sure.
And I think if Trey Lance takes over, I love Brandon Ayuk's upside. I think he's also got that kind of low end wide receiver 1 upside.
He was one of the guys. He was one of the guys. Ayuk was one of the guys who I thought maybe you went a little too early in the 5th round with him. I see the value for sure. There were probably a few of the guys that were taken before Ayuk. I probably would have gotten Ayuk in the 6th round, maybe not the 5th. But I love the team.
Ideally I would have liked him in the 6th, but I think I'm going to take a look really quick just to see who was around at that pick.
I love the T. Higgins pick.
I'd pass on Thielen. I'd pass on Lockett. They were the only ones that really went.
And Deontay Johnson, right?
DJ Moore was the one I was between. It was either him or Ayuk that I was really between. I don't think Deontay was
Oh, no. Did I take Deontay before
me? Yeah, that's who I wanted, actually. I wanted Deontay at my wide receiver.
I wanted Deontay too, and luckily I was up. I love the Antonio Brown Gallaudet on the bench. My only question to you is who's your running back 3 on this team? Is it Leonard Fournette? On bye week 7, or you just forfeiting that week? Is that something you thought about?
That's something I really haven't thought about. I don't draft on bye weeks. I don't think anybody should draft on bye weeks.
No, I don't either.
7 weeks from now, 8 weeks from now, this team could look very different. So, there's always those couple of guys who pop off on the waiver wire. I think I have the receivers on my team where I could always make a trade, and that's kind of the plan here. Yes, if I need that solid RB3, I'll just make a trade because Corey Davis, Laviska Shenault, Marquez Callaway, Antonio Brown, Terrace Marshall, I just picked up off of waivers because
I was gonna say
I could always package 2 of those guys for a solid RB, 3 flex, even RB2, depending on how they play this year. I'm really not worried because I think through the first 6 weeks, Eckler and Harris should carry the load. And I'm a guy who's not afraid to flex a wide receiver. I did it last year in a league that I won where I had Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson, and I flexed Robert Woods most of the year.
Yeah, that's a great team.
Not at all afraid to do that. So
I think your team is at running back 3 away from a championship. Don't mind Shenault at the flex down the stretch. I think Callaway or Brown. I'm gonna give your team a solid 3.9, 3.8, right in that range. I think Vin got the break of the century. I think you're just a little bit behind Vin's team there. But overall it's a solid team. I really like Darren Waller this year. Heckler and Harris are running back 1 in my eyes. Harris maybe a borderline, but still, this is a very solid team. I'm gonna give it a 3.9.
Yeah, I think I'm probably 1 move away, I think, from locking down a top 3 spot. So I'd give myself probably a 3.8 to 3.9. And of course I had to take my guy Trey Lance. We didn't even mention I took him in the 11th round, which is probably a little bit early. I didn't need to take him that early, but just considering the guys that I already had planned for the later rounds, I was like, this is kind of the best spot to take him to make sure I get him and I can still get good value at my receivers. Yeah. So I think that was kind of the plan there. And listen, J.D. McKissic had a pretty solid role last year, even with Antonio Gibson having a pretty good year.
Yeah, you might be able to play both of them.
Plug and play at the flex if I really need him. Good PPR option. So we'll see how it goes. But I think overall pretty solid team, playoff bound.
All right, let's move on to the rookie of this league here. Our friend James.
First year with us in this league.
Definitely made it a questionable entry. First pick was fun. I thought first pick was great. Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, can't go
David Montgomery was his 2nd round pick, the 19th spot. My eyes, there's a few other running backs you could have taken before him. It's okay. Keenan Allen at 22, maybe a little too early. Okay, I still think Keenan Allen's great. I still think Keenan Allen's great. I think he took Mike Evans in the 4th round.
It's really funny because he was shit talking Mike Evans pretty much the entire
whole draft,
and then
goes
decides
up there
to pull the trigger on him and take him.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, man, go for it.
Yeah. I think he doesn't have a true running back 3. I don't mind the Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams handcuff pair at all. One of them is, probably bound to beat the other, just a matter of who. So maybe he gets a running back 3 out of one of those guys. Nico Hardman was a great pick. Mark Andrews, I think he got, Mark Andrews. He got Mark Andrews in the 7th round. That's a pretty good pick there. After Hockenson went, just so everyone's aware. That was a late 7th round. He got Mark Andrews in. And then Mike Gesicki's a great bench tight end. I think Mike Gesicki had a great pair last year. Tua loved throwing the ball, Mike Gesicki, and Mike Gesicki made some ridiculous catches last year. Julio Jones, the flex, someone who I'm not definite on what his role is going to be this year. Curious as to what that's going to be. I mean, look, he's still Julio Jones.
He's still Julio Jones. I think he's probably a lock for a wide receiver to finish and he stay healthy.
Yeah.
And at the flex, I mean, I probably would swap him with Debo. But
yeah, I was going to say, I think
considering it's a 3-receiver league, I think that's a solid wide receiver.
Yeah, he took Julio. He took Julio in the 5th. Yeah, so Julio was before Debo Samuel.
Yeah, I think that was solid value for that.
Yeah.
So I think overall, I think he didn't do a terrible job with his first year in the league. Couple of questionable picks. I'm not a fan of Mike Evans.
No,
I probably wouldn't play Debo.
Mike Evans, Debo, value. And I'm not a big David Montgomery guy.
Yeah, me neither.
Personally,
just at least at that value, I think he could be a low end RB2. I'd rather him at my flex. It's that kind of one of those kind of guys.
Yes, for sure. I think he's going to be on the cusp of a playoff. If he gets a few good matchups and a few boom in the spots where he needs him to boom, I'm going to give him a solid 2.9, flat 3, one of those. But, I think he's going to struggle to make the playoffs. And even if he does, I think one of those top teams will blow him out pretty easily.
Yeah, I'd probably go flat 3. I think he's right on the cusp of playoffs. I think a couple of big weeks and he could see himself in the 6 seed, maybe even the 5 seed. But a couple of things really not going his way. I do like the Javonte Williams pick. I think he's going to be the guy. I think he'll be able to take over as the RB2 on his team. And if that's the case, I think he'll sniff the playoffs. But, if it takes a little bit more time for that RB backfield to get, to clear out, then he might be looking to miss the playoffs. So he's kind of right at that borderline. If he can make a good trade, though, maybe get a lucky break with somebody on his bench, like maybe even a McCole Hardman, although I'm not too high on him. Or if Juju is kind of the player he was last year, where he was pretty consistent on a week-to-week basis, you can throw him in at the flex or the wide receiver 3. I think he's in line probably to hit the 6, the 6 seed, something like that. So yeah, probably give him like a 3 flat.
All right, let's move on to the last team here. We got Peter here. Very high on the Josh Allen and Diggs combo. He took Diggs in the 2nd round at pick 13 and Josh Allen in the 4th round at pick 33. Maybe a little too early for Josh Allen. He loves him, so that's not really a problem. He took Nick Chubb with his first pick. He had the 8th pick in the draft. Not a bad pick. He took Eckler at 7, so Chubb slipped to 8. Totally fine. His running back 2 and 3 questioned me. The Miles Sanders, Myles Gaskin combination. I think chances are one of them breaks out to have that running back 2 role. The other one's probably not. And just that running back, that flex spot is, he loves the Browns. So Jarvis Landry, I guess, was kind of given. I love the Curtis Samuel pick, though. I think that's someone who could have good value later in the year. But, he's got great receivers, a good running back 1. I don't think he has the necessary weapons to make a big playoff push, but I think he's one of those teams that's right on the cusp this year.
Yeah, I'm not outside of the Allen Diggs and even the Jefferson picks. I'm really not loving this team. I'm not too big on Claypool as a wide receiver 3. I'd rather him probably at the flex or on my bench, just because there are a lot of mouths to feed. And it seems like he's likely to be more of a touchdown dependent option. Nick Chubb in a PPR league, although this is half PPR. Again, I'd rather go for a guy with a little more PPR upside. Then with Miles Sanders, not a guy that I'm loving either. I think he's kind of going to be based on big plays. Again, more of a boom or bust kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he plans on keeping Jarvis Landry at the flex, but again, not loving that as a starting option, at least at this point in the season. This is a Browns team that's going to run the ball a lot more than they're going to pass it. And if they do pass it, it's probably going to go OBJ's way more than it's going to go Landry's way. I know we saw at the end of the year when OBJ got hurt, Landry was a very solid option at the flex wide receiver 3, but I don't think we're going to see him replicate those numbers unless they pass the ball a lot more than they planned to pass it last year. And I just don't see that. So, and then the Tunyon pick, I think he's going to regress a little bit. I don't see anybody on his bench really that has a lot of upside at the tight end spot. So unless he goes on the waivers, he's going to have to hope that Tonyan repeats his incredible touchdown pace, which
I was going to say touchdown pace for Tonyan. It's what made him what he was last year.
Yeah, so I don't hate the Gaskin pick, and I like the Samuel pick, but I don't know if it's enough really to carry him into the playoffs. I don't think he's, at this stage, I'm not really sure that he makes the playoffs. I'd probably rate his team like a 2-4, 2-5.
Really, I'm kind of a flat 3 with this team. And last year we had like the 7, 8, and 9 were all like just one game off of making the playoffs.
Yeah, so this is always a league that's very tightly contested.
Yeah, especially at that really back end. We have 6 teams make the playoffs, so that last spot is always heavily contested. I think he's a flat 3. I think his receivers are going to carry him. I think that Diggs Jefferson is going to be probably one of the best wide receiver combos at the 1-2 spot. I think he's going to be a tough team to just kind of say, I'm going to beat this team every time I play them.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a team that rolls over and dies. I mean,
yes,
Buffalo has a big week, you're going to be in for it. If Jefferson catches 2 touchdowns, goes for 100-something yards, you're going to be in for it. If Nick Chubb goes for 2 touchdowns, 100-something yards, you're going to be in for it. But I think if his top players don't step up, he's in a lot of trouble.
Correct. I agree with that.
Necessary weapons, especially on the bench. I'm really not loving his bench. So it's going to be a little bit trickier for him than most teams to get into the playoffs, but he's going to be as capable of a big week as any other team in the league.
Yeah. All right. So that's our league. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to Breeze Fantasy Football. This is Fantasy Football for you, made easy breezy.
Make sure to follow us on all our socials. We're going to get our finished rankings out this week. Working on the receivers today, and help you guys win some drafts. It's draft season, guys. Football's right around the corner. So hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time.